Modern humans are the loneliest people who have ever lived. That is not an opinion. That is what the data says. In 2023, the United States Surgeon General issued an official advisory declaring loneliness a public health epidemic. Studies in the United Kingdom found that 1 in 4 adults reported feeling chronically lonely. Research published in the journal Perspectives on Psychological Science found that social isolation is as damaging to physical health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Rates of depression, anxiety, and relationship breakdown in modern industrial societies have been climbing steadily for decades. And here is the part that should genuinely disturb you. The species experiencing this loneliness epidemic evolved over millions of years in conditions of near-constant social connection. The human nervous system was built for something that modern life is systematically denying it. And the closest thing we have to a picture of what human relationships actually looked like for most of our evolutionary history suggests that ancient humans, with no smartphones, no therapy, no dating apps, no relationship advice columns, were doing something fundamentally right that modern people are doing fundamentally wrong. This is not nostalgia. This is not romanticizing the past. Ancient life was brutal in ways modern people cannot fully imagine. But the structure of ancient human relationships contained features that modern psychology is only now beginning to recognize as essential to human well-being. Features that modern life has quietly dismantled one by one over the last 10,000 years. Let us start with the most basic one. Ancient humans were never alone. In a hunter-gatherer band of 20 to 30 people, solitude was not a lifestyle choice. It was a survival risk. You did not eat alone. You did not sleep alone. You did not raise children alone. You did not get sick alone. You were embedded in a web of relationships so dense and so constant that the modern concept of loneliness, the feeling of being socially disconnected in a world full of people, would have been almost incomprehensible. Studies of contemporary hunter-gatherer societies that still exist today show that adults in these groups spend an average of 6 to 8 hours per day in direct face-to-face social interaction, not texting, not scrolling, not watching other people's lives on a screen. Actual face-to-face, body-to-body, voice-to-voice, contact with people they had known their entire lives and would continue knowing until one of them died. The average American adult spends approximately 19 minutes per day in meaningful face-to-face social interaction with people outside their immediate household. 19 minutes. The human nervous system did not evolve for 19 minutes. It evolved for 6 to 8 hours. And the gap between what it was built for and what modern life provides is one of the most significant sources of psychological suffering in the modern world. The second thing ancient humans did right was something that sounds almost embarrassingly simple. They touched each other constantly. Physical touch is not a luxury in human biology. It is a requirement. Touch triggers the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, which reduces stress hormones, lowers blood pressure, strengthens immune function, and creates feelings of trust and safety. Hunter-gatherer groups touched constantly. They groomed each other's hair, a behavior inherited from primate ancestors for whom grooming was the primary social bonding mechanism. They slept in close physical contact, sharing body heat and maintaining physical connection through the night. They carried children in direct skin-to-skin contact for the first years of life. They worked in close proximity, preparing food together, crafting together, moving together across landscapes. Modern humans live in a touch famine. Studies consistently show that non-sexual physical contact between adults has declined dramatically over the last century as household sizes shrank, as public touch became stigmatized, as screens replaced face-to-face interaction. Many modern adults go days or weeks without meaningful physical contact with another human being. Ancient humans would not have survived emotionally in those conditions, and increasingly, evidence suggests that modern humans are not surviving them well either. The third feature of ancient relationships that modern psychology is now recognizing as crucial is something researchers call cooperative breeding, and it completely dismantles one of the most damaging myths of modern life: the nuclear family. 2 parents, isolated in a household, solely responsible for raising their children, is not the ancient human model of family. It is a very recent invention. And it is, by almost every measure of child and adult well-being, a deeply inadequate one. For most of human evolutionary history, children were raised by groups, not just their biological parents. By grandmothers who provided care and knowledge that freed parents to forage and hunt. By aunts and uncles who provided additional food, protection, and teaching. By older children who supervised younger ones. by unrelated group members who held, fed, and monitored infants while parents rested. It was the reason human children could afford to be so helpless for so long. The extended childhood that allowed human brains to develop their extraordinary complexity was only possible because the burden of child-rearing was distributed across an entire social group rather than concentrated on two exhausted individuals. Modern parents raising children in isolated nuclear households are attempting to do something that human biology never designed them to do alone. The rates of parental burnout, postpartum depression, relationship strain, and child behavioral problems in modern industrial societies reflect not personal failure, but structural impossibility. Two people cannot adequately replace a village. The ancient model knew this. The modern model forgot it. The fourth feature of ancient relationships involves something that will feel counterintuitive: conflict. Ancient human groups did not avoid conflict. Conflict is inevitable in any group of social primates living in close proximity. What ancient humans had that modern humans increasingly lack were sophisticated, embedded, immediate mechanisms for resolving conflict before it became destructive. His research found that these societies were remarkably and actively egalitarian, not accidentally, deliberately. When individuals within a group became too dominant, too aggressive, or too disruptive, the rest of the group coordinated to suppress that behavior through a process Bohm calls reverse dominance hierarchy: gossip, public shaming, ridicule, social ostracism, and in extreme cases, collective violence against the disruptive individual. This sounds harsh, but the effect was a social environment where no single person could accumulate unchecked power over others, where abusive behavior was immediately visible to everyone and immediately sanctioned, and where the social feedback loop between behavior and consequence was so tight and so fast that destructive patterns could rarely entrench themselves the way they do in modern relationships. Modern relationships often suffer from exactly the opposite problem. People stay in damaging situations for years because the social feedback systems that ancient groups provided do not exist. There is no village watching. There is no elder intervening. There is no community of people who have known both parties for 20 years stepping in to say that something is wrong and that it needs to stop. Ancient humans had no couples therapy. What they had was something arguably more effective: a dense social network that made the health of every relationship a community concern, not a private matter. The fifth feature is one that modern culture is particularly bad at providing: shared meaning and purpose. In a hunter-gatherer band, the purpose of daily life was clear, immediate, and collectively shared. Find food. Stay safe. Take care of the group. There was no ambiguity about what mattered. There was no existential crisis about whether your life had meaning. The meaning was self-evident, and it was shared by everyone around you. Research by social psychologist Roy Baumeister consistently shows that belonging, feeling genuinely connected to and needed by a social group, is one of the strongest predictors of psychological well-being. Ancient humans belonged to their groups in a way that was total and unconditional. They were needed. Their specific skills and knowledge mattered to the survival of real people they knew and loved. The contribution was visible and immediate. Modern humans operate in social structures so large and so anonymous that the sense of genuine belonging and genuine contribution has become genuinely rare. You can work in a corporation of 10,000 people and feel completely invisible. You can live in a city of millions and feel that your existence matters to almost nobody. Ancient humans never experienced this. Not because ancient life was gentle, but because the scale of ancient social life made invisibility structurally impossible. The sixth feature brings us back to something physical. Ancient humans moved together. Studies of contemporary hunter-gatherer groups show that adults walked an average of 6 to 9 miles per day. They walked in groups. They moved through landscapes together, read the environment together, navigated challenges together. Physical activity done in social groups produces neurochemical effects that cannot be replicated by solitary gym sessions.